off with an angry letter to the editor. What happened was, I actually never even knew about journalism. The only thing I ever read was a sports section of the Los Angeles Times and the Orange County Register, right up until I was, I want to say, 21 years old. And then it was April 2000, April Fool's issue. I was working for a political campaign at the time, and then in the trash, where it belongs, was a copy of the OC Weekly. I had never heard of the OC Weekly before. I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up. April Fool's issue, so it was just like The Onion. Every single story was fake. Every single story was fake. One of the stories was called 5 Latinos We Really Like, and the first problem, there's only 4 people. The second problem, there was only 1 Latino. And the third problem, he was a self-hating Latino, and the other 3 people were like, anti-immigrant, anti-Mexican lunatics. I thought it was the funniest article I had ever read. I grew up reading Mad Magazine, so I understood satire. I loved satire. And I knew this was one of the most brilliant things in journalism I'd ever read. And more importantly, I'm like, wow, can they actually do this? But I also knew that there was going to be, excuse me for cussing, if I have to say, some PC pendejos out there. PC pendejos, yes. Out there who are not going to get the joke, who are going to find it offensive, who are going to tell the OC Weekly, oh my gosh, I can't, how dare you do that, blah, 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 blah. So I decided to be one of those PC pendejos. And so I wrote this angry letter saying, how dare you not include, and if any of you are from Orange County, you'll get this reference. If not, I'll still explain it. How dare you not include Barbara Coe? Barbara Coe basically is the head of the California Coalition for Immigration Reform. You want to talk about a news story for you young folks. From her organization has come Proposition 187, which was the original SB 1070, the Minuteman Project, the Birther Movement, also SB 1070. Basically, anything evil in America today is because of this woman. All from Huntington Beach. They meet every month at the Garden Grove Women's Club on the corner of Gilbert and Chapman and Garden Grove. So I said, oh, how dare you not include Barbara Coe? It was completely over the top. I wanted to make it over the top. But they published it, and they published it right alongside an actual earnest PC pendejo saying, how dare you, blah, blah, blah. So from there, the editor, he's like, wow, you really write good. Why don't you start writing for the OC Weekly? Mind you, again, I had never had any ambitions to be a reporter. All I had ever read was the sports section. And I told them, well, I'm not a reporter, but I have a lot of stories that I could feed you folks. I was working a political campaign at the time. Of course, that woman turned out to be a totally corrupt, you-know-what, so it's always great to say, she's a Santa Ana councilwoman, it's always great to say when I out her again, I used to work on her campaign, so I remember when she was clean, now she's a total you-know-what. So from there, I kept pitching them stories. Eventually the editor told me, hey, you're bugging me with stories, why don't you write something for me? That was February of 2001, and just, I never worked at a college paper, but really being at the OC Weekly was my college paper. Well, I think the difference, or not the difference, but the similarity is I started working with a great staff of people who criticized me, but also supported me. And that's one thing you always want to be around. People who will call you on your stuff, who will tell you when you're good and really tell you when you're bad. And from there, I just climbed the ladder, just, writing so much that one time on the cover of the OC Weekly they put Echo and Gustavo Arellano. we're a weekly, so we probably have a maximum of 15 stories in the paper every week. One time I had 9 of them. So, and that's how you have to work nowadays. You have to work your butt off. Even right now, I'm checking on what my writers are doing and making sure that they're working on the stories that they're supposed to work on. So, other questions?
So, one issue we're always having, of course, is the death of print. That's the thing we hear all the time.
Sure.
So what can newspapers do nowadays to stay solvent, to go big or go home?
It's all about the young lady asked, like, how can we actually survive, basically, in this world of journalism? It's still about the great stories. That's one thing the public will always want to read great stories, whether it's in 140 characters on Twitter, whether it's a Facebook status update, whether it's just a simple YouTube video that you record for your MacBook Pro, or whether it's a nice 5,000-word long-form journalism piece. People still want great stories. If it's a political cartoon or whatever, people want great stories. That's never going to change. The format's going to change, sure, and unfortunately the problem is, okay, so if you have all these different formats, how do we make money out of it? I'm the editor, I'm not the publisher, so I don't know how to make money off of it. The way we've survived is by having, what do we call it? Alternative medicine and escort ads. That's how we've survived, thank God. Thank God we never subscribed to the cult, to the cult of classified ads, because that just eviscerated daily newspapers. But the reason why we remain relevant, even financially healthy in Orange County, is because we do those great stories. We not only do those great stories, but we know what we cover more than the competition. My reporter, Scott Moxley, he's a legend in Orange County. This is a guy who's gotten, well, he got the sheriff sent to federal prison. That's for starters. He's gotten, at last count, at least 4 innocent people out of jail. He's made 5 politicians resign. This guy's a legend. No, this guy's an absolute legend. Oh yeah, and he got 2 assistant sheriffs sent to federal prison as well. So anyways, so the cover story this week is on a woman formerly known as Jane Doe. She was a rape victim during this infamous gang rape trial in Orange County, where 3 idiots, let's put it that way, they videotaped themselves raping this unconscious teenage girl. And it was a crazy, crazy story. So it's the 10th anniversary of this story, and so you read the cover story this week, people are just going crazy about it in a good way. They're like, I remember that case, I remember the OC Weekly doing it. It's a short story, only 2,000 words, and really it's just a recap of what happened, but Scott was able to put it in such a masterful way that it's become the talk of the town. It's become the talk of the town of Orange County. There's already book deals coming in for both, for Scott to write Jane Doe's story. People react to that. If we put a bad cover, if we do a bad story, people start dropping you. And that's one way I think that's really important now in journalism. As you all know, it's like, okay, what have you done for me lately? You always have to set the bar higher and higher and higher and reach it, and then go higher and higher again. That's not a profession that's going to be for everyone. But again, given just talking to you folks and given what's going on here, I think it's perfect for us. In other words, we're hard workers, we're strivers. We have a chip on our shoulder. We have a really big chip on our shoulder, but that puts us ahead, say, of people from Columbian Journalism School and Medill and all those fancy places. I can insult an employer of mine, but I'm not going to do that. Maybe if I have another one, I will. But yeah, that's how we survive. We survive by putting out the best damn journalism week in, week out, and also being on top of social media and being funny with it. You can't just view it as, just as an afterthought. You have to be entertaining with it and interact with the audience. Other questions?
So actually,